At 1 o'clock, the BBC News is Christmas Eve on BBC One Wales with Rajini, Vaidyanathan.
Good afternoon. The US military's claimed a drone launched from Iran hit a chemical tanker in the Indian Ocean last night. Iran's been accused of backing Houthi rebels who support Hamas in its war with Israel. The Houthis have been attacking shipping in the Red Sea in recent weeks. America says it's also shot down 4 drones in the same waters. Iran denies any involvement, as Anbarasan Ethirajan reports.
A bruised oil tanker being escorted by an Indian Coast Guard ship in the Arabian Sea. For the first time, the Pentagon blamed Iran directly for the drone attack on the MV Pluto. But Iran's foreign minister denies this.
For us, regional security is very important. We are not seeking to expand the scope of war. The solution to the problem is not to establish a so-called coalition in the Red Sea, but to stop the bloodshed of women, children and civilians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank.
Iran is also thought by the US to be backing Houthi rebels in Yemen who have been targeting commercial ships with any connections to Israel passing through the Red Sea. They are an ally of Hamas and stoutly oppose the Israeli military action in Gaza. Speaking earlier in the week, America made it clear it was important to all nations that shipping in the Red Sea was protected.
The Houthis aren't attacking just one country. They're really attacking the international community. They are attacking the economic well-being and prosperity of nations around the world.
The strikes and hijacking of ships by the Houthis mark an escalation in a series of maritime attacks threatening the commercial shipping industry. US wants international support to patrol the Red Sea to protect the shipping routes. Anbarasan Ethirajan, BBC News, Delhi.
Well, joining me here in this studio now is our news correspondent Rob Watson. Rob, how significant is this development?
I mean, potentially it is very significant because this is the first reported attack outside the Red Sea. And despite Iranian denials, this would be a hugely significant development. And worth bearing in mind that just a few days ago, the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard said, look, he threatened to make the Gibraltar unsafe, the Mediterranean Sea and other shipping lanes. So yes, it has to be taken seriously. All of that said, it's worth bearing in mind that since October the 7th, the Iranians have been very careful not to push things too far. So, yes, they've supported their proxies in the region, so that's the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and of course Hamas, but they haven't done anything that would give the Israelis or the Americans the opportunity for a direct attack. And that's because, like the Americans, the Iranians, although very aggressive, are also very anxious for all sorts of reasons to avoid a wider regional conflict. But all that said, even if this doesn't signify some escalation by the Iranians, think about it. There have already been 300 ships that have had to divert from the Red Sea. So for commercial shipping, their customers, Western governments, the idea that suddenly maybe the Indian Ocean would become unsafe, total nightmare.
Rob Watson, thank you very much. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told President Biden that the war in Gaza will continue until all of Israel's goals have been achieved. Meanwhile, in Bethlehem, in the occupied West Bank, Palestinian Christian leaders have said that they will forego all public festivities this year in a mark of solidarity with Gazans living through months of bombing and fighting. This year, the city's streets are empty and the shops closed. Christmas, as locals there know it, has been cancelled, as Shaima Khalil reports.
On days like this, Jawdat and his father would have been talking about Christmas preparations. Not this year. Jawdat's family is stuck in northern Gaza. He tries to reassure his father that he'll make it out alive and that they'll be together again. But his dad is overcome with grief. A week ago, Jawdat's grandmother Nahida was shot twice in the stomach. His aunt Summer rushed to help her and was shot in the head.
Hi, Khalti.
Your aunt? Jawdat's parents and relatives had been sheltering in the Holy Family Church. Now they've buried their loved ones there. The family blames Israeli snipers for their death. The IDF says it will continue its investigation. There's still shelling around us, his father tells me. Before he says goodbye, he has one last message for his son. May God be with you, my son, he says. Take care of your sisters. The war in Gaza weighs heavily on Bethlehem. Visitors from around the world would have been here by now.
It's empty. The city is empty from happiness, from joy, from kids, from Santa, from every celebration. There's no celebration this year.
We cannot be happy because, we are not in another side of the world. We are still in Palestine.
It's so difficult. We're really struggling. Look at Bethlehem. It's never been this way.
The atmosphere is heavy with absence. The absence of any features of celebration, the absence of tourists, of pilgrims who would normally fill this square. Bethlehem is many miles away from the war in Gaza, but the pain is felt deeply here.
In an unusually empty nativity church, Father Isa Thalgia tells me his city feels like a shadow of itself.
12 years here as a priest of this church, and I was born in Bethlehem. I never actually seen like this time of the year. We have also brothers and sisters in Gaza, and this is what exactly makes it difficult also to celebrate and to have maybe music and to celebrate, to have parties usually. But because of this, what's happening, so we'll just pray for them.
In Manger Square, a nativity scene in the rubble has replaced the giant Christmas tree. A tribute to the children in Gaza and a call to end their suffering. Shaima Khalil, BBC News, Bethlehem.
Here, the Home Secretary James Cleverly is facing criticism after he made a joke about spiking his wife's drinks at a Downing Street Christmas reception. Our political correspondent Layla Nathu is at the Home Office. So, Layla, what exactly did he say?
Well, these were comments reportedly made by the Home Secretary earlier this week, and things said at these sorts of receptions at Downing Street for journalists and ministers normally remain private, but the Mirror newspaper says it decided to report what James Cleverly said to a group because of his role and the subject matter. Now, the paper says he joked about putting a little bit of Rohypnol in his wife's drink. That is a drug associated commonly with drink spiking. And he also reportedly said that a secret to a long marriage was ensuring your spouse was someone who was always mildly sedated, so she could never realise that there were better men out there. Now, a spokesperson for the Home Secretary said he was making an ironic joke and apologises. The spokesman didn't dispute that he had been making a joke about that issue, but said he couldn't remember the exact wording used. Now, 2 quick points of context. The remarks were made on the very day that the Home Office, the department behind me, James Cleverly's department that he heads up, announced a crackdown on drink spiking. And secondly, he also had to apologise last month for using inappropriate language in the Commons to describe a Labour MP. Now, Labour today said the comments were appalling. Women's groups have also accused him of downplaying a serious issue. Downing Street, though, have so far declined to comment.
Thank you, Layla. Travel disruptions expected on the roads and rails today due to strong winds. Scotland, parts of northern England and the Midlands are expected to be areas affected. Meanwhile, the AA has warned of lengthy traffic jams and has told people to prepare for longer journeys. Our reporter Aruna Iyengar has been gauging the mood of those travelling today.
We're in the final countdown to Christmas. Here at London Euston, people are checking their trains are running. There are delays. But trains are running to Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester and Edinburgh.
We're kind of worried. That's why we decided to come to the train station early to see if we could catch our train down to Milton Keynes.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that there wouldn't be enough trains, but it's been all right.
A different Christmas tale at London's King's Cross and Paddington stations. Engineering work means some disruption. There are no long-distance services to or from King's Cross today and no trains out of Paddington from today until the 27th of December. 14 million people are expected to take to the roads, trying to grab those last-minute purchases before tomorrow. Motorists are being warned to prepare for lengthy jams and to keep stress levels down.
About 30% of drivers say they are going to use the car to visit the shops today. So the busiest places will be places where you've got big shopping centres close to motorways. The advice to people is prepare yourselves and prepare your car before you set off.
The weather isn't helping. Although it's unusually mild for this time of year, there are yellow warnings in place across the UK. Severe gales are expected in the northeast of England and Scotland.
Yeah, hello. I'm standing here at Euston Station, where lots of people have been travelling today, trying to get across the country to visit their relatives and loved ones right across the country. Here at Euston, trains go from here up to Manchester and to Birmingham, major cities in the northwest. But many people have been turning up and giving more extra time for their journeys. It's a different story, obviously, at Paddington Station at King's Cross, which are both closed today. They're huge terminuses there for rail services going out towards Bristol and from King's Cross up to Scotland and the northeast. So a busy day today on the rails, but some disruption.
Bruna Iyengar there, reporting from London's Euston Station. Anthony Joshua took another step closer to the top of heavyweight boxing after a terrific performance to stop Otto Wallin early on in Saudi Arabia. Joshua was dominant from the outset, getting the better of Wallin before the Swede's corner pulled him out of the fight at the end of the 5th round. King Charles will deliver the second Christmas message of his reign from a Buckingham Palace room decorated with a living Christmas tree. The King's a long-term environmental campaigner, so the tree will be replanted after the broadcast. Natural and sustainable decorations feature on the tree, including dried oranges and pine cones hanging from the branches. Now let's stay with some more festive stories. How about this for dedication at Christmas? A community in rural Slovenia has continued a tradition of decorating a tree in the middle of a river, despite the freezing water temperatures. Divers brave the waters of the Vipava River in what's become an annual event. Alongside putting up the tree, they also took part in an underwater treasure hunt, with the winner taking home, let's wait for it, a prestigious award of a Christmas ham. Well, that's all from me, I should say. But if you want more updates throughout the afternoon, you can join me on the BBC News channel. The next news on BBC One is at 5:40. I wish you all a lovely Christmas weekend. Bye for now.